The story of Ben Drowned is one of the most famous and chilling creepypastas ever written, combining the nostalgia of a beloved video game with the terror of supernatural possession. It begins like many urban legends do, with something that seems harmless, almost mundane: a secondhand video game cartridge, a college student looking for something cheap to play. But what unfolds is a tale of psychological torment, haunting imagery, and a digital entity that feels too real to simply be fiction. The creepypasta follows a young man named Jadusable, who shares his experience in a series of forum posts. He explains that he received an old copy of The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask for the Nintendo 64 from an elderly man at a yard sale. At first glance, the cartridge looked ordinary, except for one detail. Instead of the colorful game label, it had the word Majora written in black permanent marker. This alone is strange, but nothing out of the ordinary for secondhand games. After all, people lose labels all the time. But from the moment he booted up the game, something felt wrong. When Jadusable loaded the cartridge, he discovered two saved files already on it. One was labeled Link, as you might expect from someone who had played the game before. The other was called BEN. Curiosity got the better of him, and he began playing. At first, everything seemed normal. The game functioned like any other copy of Majora's Mask. But soon, he began to notice strange and unsettling differences. NPCs would refer to him as Ben instead of Link, even though he had started a new game file under his own name. Characters acted strangely, delivering dialogue that didn't belong, or staring at him for uncomfortably long periods of time. Some areas of the game world were completely different from how they should have been, and the music that was once cheerful and familiar would play backwards, distorted, or out of place, giving the entire game a haunting and otherworldly atmosphere. Trying to fix the issue, Jadusable decided to delete the BEN save file. But instead of solving the problem, things became worse. Now, whenever he started the game, NPCs would act as though BEN was still present. It was as if deleting the file didn't erase him at all. Ben was still there, watching, hidden inside the cartridge. And this is when the most disturbing manifestations began. One of the most infamous parts of the Ben Drowned story is the appearance of Link's in-game statue. For those familiar with Majora's Mask, there's a mask in the game called the Elegy of Emptiness. When used, it creates a hollow, eerie statue of the player character. Normally, it's just a tool for solving puzzles. But in Jadusable's version of the game, this statue would appear randomly, without being summoned, and follow him around. It would show up in unexpected places, just standing there, watching him. Its lifeless eyes and unsettling smile made it one of the creepiest elements of the story. Imagine playing a game you've loved since childhood, only for your own character's hollow doppelganger to stalk you relentlessly. That's exactly the terror Jadusable faced. The glitches became more aggressive. His character would burst into flames without warning, or dissolve into nothingness. Sometimes he would be transported into strange, empty rooms where nothing made sense. The music would cut in and out, playing terrifying reversed tracks or ominous chanting. In one scene, his character was chased by a disturbing version of Skull Kid, the game's main antagonist, who behaved in ways completely outside the normal programming. And each time, the game seemed to be mocking him, taunting him. The message was clear. This wasn't just a broken cartridge. Something, or someone, was inside it. At one point, text appeared on the screen that simply read, "You shouldn't have done that." This phrase would become the chilling catchphrase of Ben Drowned, repeated again and again throughout the story. The game seemed to respond directly to Jadusable's actions, as though it was alive, aware, and playing with him. The more he tried to escape, the deeper he was pulled into its nightmare. Jadusable didn't just describe these experiences in writing. He uploaded actual footage of his cursed playthroughs, showing the bizarre glitches, the horrifying music, and the dreaded Link statue that would not leave him alone. The combination of written storytelling and video evidence gave Ben Drowned an unsettling authenticity. Viewers could see it for themselves, and many were left wondering, was this really happening? Was this just a brilliant hoax, or had someone truly uncovered a haunted cartridge? As the story unfolded, Jadusable explained that he believed the game was haunted by the spirit of a boy named Ben. The name suggested a child, perhaps one who had drowned, hence the title of the story. In fact, Jadusable claimed that after he deleted the Ben save file, his computer began acting strangely too. Files would rename themselves Ben, and he even received cryptic text messages from unknown numbers. It was as though the entity had escaped the cartridge and was now infecting his life directly through technology. The terror didn't stop with the game itself. Jadusable began to feel as though he was being watched outside of the game. He experienced paranoia, nightmares, and the overwhelming sense that Ben was with him everywhere. Ben wasn't just a ghost in a cartridge. He had become a digital curse, spreading through data, files, and even the internet. This concept, known as a haunted cartridge or haunted media, has since become one of the most iconic themes in creepypasta lore. What makes Ben Drowned so effective is its use of familiar nostalgia twisted into horror. Many people grew up playing Majora's Mask, a game that already has a dark and unsettling tone compared to other Zelda titles. Its themes of time running out, the moon crashing into the world, and the eerie masks already gave it a sense of unease. Ben Drowned takes that unease and magnifies it, turning a beloved childhood game into a nightmare playground for a malevolent spirit. Another reason the story spread so widely was its clever use of multimedia. By combining written accounts, game footage, and later an entire alternate reality game, Ben Drowned blurred the line between fiction and reality. Readers and viewers were left questioning whether this was just a creepypasta or if there was something more sinister hidden in the digital world. This blending of storytelling methods made Ben Drowned feel interactive, as though the curse could reach out and affect anyone who became too invested. The legend of Ben Drowned didn't stop with the original posts. Over the years, it evolved into an entire mythos, with fans creating art, stories, and theories about who Ben really was. Some believed he was the spirit of a child who died tragically. Others saw him as a manifestation of corrupted data, and some even thought he was a warning about the dangers of technology and obsession. No matter the theory, one thing remained consistent. Ben was terrifying, and his presence was unforgettable. One of the most unsettling aspects of the story is how Ben would manipulate the player through emotional tricks. The game would sometimes display text that seemed to read Jadusable's thoughts, or imply that Ben knew things about him that he had never shared. At times, it almost felt like Ben was trying to lure him deeper, encouraging him to continue playing despite the horror. It was psychological manipulation at its finest, making the player question their own sanity. In the climax of the original story, Jadusable becomes increasingly paranoid and unstable. He claims that Ben is following him even outside of the game, infecting his files, his computer, and even his mind. He ends his posts with warnings. urging others not to play the game, not to look for the cartridge, and not to dig too deep into Ben's world. But of course, by then, it was too late. The legend had already spread across the internet like wildfire. Ben Drowned is often credited with popularizing the haunted game genre of creepypasta. Without it, we might not have seen stories like Sonic.exe or Polybius gain so much traction. But Ben Drowned stands apart because of its atmosphere, its clever use of actual gameplay footage, and the way it tapped into a shared cultural memory of a beloved game. It turned nostalgia into horror, and it did so in a way that felt eerily plausible. Even today, more than a decade after it first appeared, Ben Drowned remains one of the most talked about creepypastas. Its influence is felt in horror games, YouTube channels, and countless fan creations. For many, it was their first exposure to the idea of digital ghosts and cursed media, and it left a lasting impact. So what is the truth behind Ben Drowned? Is it simply an elaborate hoax, a creative piece of internet fiction that spiraled into legend? Or is there something darker at play, something about our connection to technology, to data, to the digital worlds we inhabit that makes it easier for spirits like Ben to exist? Perhaps the scariest part of all is not knowing for certain. Because when you stare into the hollow eyes of that statue, or hear the game whisper, "You shouldn't have done that," it feels all too real. The next time you find yourself at a garage sale, flipping through old video games, and stumbling upon one with no label, just a name scrawled in marker, maybe you'll think twice before buying it. Because sometimes the game plays you, and sometimes a boy named Ben is still out there, waiting for someone else to load his save file so he can live again.